Time is now 7 o'clock, and I'm calling to order and reconvening to open session the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, May 21st, 2018. Jackie, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Beal? Here. Mr. Caribas?
Here.
Ms. Price?
Here.
Mr. Rasak?
Here.
Ms. Deming?
Here.
Mr. Rising?
Here.
Ms. Donahue?
Here.
We have a quorum. Mr. Rising, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And being the end of the year, we have many board salutes, and they're fantastic. And I'm going to ask that Mr. Carubas begin with the first board salute.
U.S. News and World Report released its 2018 Best High School rankings. All three District 204 high schools made the national list and were ranked in the top 25 for the state. U.S. News ranked Neuqua Valley 646 in the nation and 16th in the state. Metea Valley was 854th in the nation and 19th in the state. And Waubonsie Valley ranked 1,143rd in the nation and 24th in the state. Rankings are based on state assessments, graduation rates, and how well schools prepare students for college. Congratulations to all three of our high schools on this outstanding achievement. Is that why we have all three principals here right now? Thank you.
Didn't we outrank another school district?
Yeah, we did.
That will not be named?
Pretty sure, that won't be named, yeah, pretty sure.
Ms. Donahue.
Okay. The board salutes 7 District 204 high school seniors who are recently named 2018 National Merit Scholars by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. The scholars are Ishan Dar from Metea Valley, Yuan Chen, Kevin Hong, Andy Z. Wang, and Joyce Zhu from Neuqua Valley, and Shailin Iyer and Elliot Mayong from Waubonsie Valley. These scholars were chosen from more than 15,000 finalists and selected by college admissions officers and high school counselors who reviewed a substantial amount of information submitted by both the finalists and their high schools. Each student will receive $2,500 scholarship. We congratulate all our National Merit Scholars on their selection for this very prestigious award.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, District 204 students received accolades at the State Youth in Government Assembly. Illinois YMCA Youth in Government is a mock government program for high school students in Illinois. All three District 204 high schools did an outstanding job participating in the 69th State Assembly. Metea Valley had their first elected statewide officer, President of the Senate, and was also awarded Most Effective Legislator. You need to go down and teach some people, I think. The Mustangs had first place finishes in 3 categories. Waubonsie Valley students had 4 first place finishes and won Best Legislator and also received the Press Award. And 3 positions in the executive branch, including Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Secretary of State, were filled by Neuqua Valley, as well as 3 presiding officers, 5 committee chairs, and 3 judicial positions. Neuqua Valley students earned first place finishes in 2 categories. Wow. Congratulations to all the students and staff who participated.
Ms. Price.
Oh, I had another.
Oh, you have
Do you want
another?
me to do
Yes,
this one?
go
Okay.
for it.
All right.
Ms. Beal, sorry.
The INSPRA Award presented to Dr. Sullivan. The Illinois chapter of the National School Public Relations Association recently held its Distinguished Service Award program to honor outstanding communications work. Dr. Sullivan, along with Jeff Craig of West Aurora, Tony Sanders of U46, and Jennifer Garrison of Vandalia received the Award of Excellence in the Team category for their work to raise awareness of education funding issues across the state. The team worked together to rally more than 400 Illinois superintendents and their communities to encourage legislators to pass a budget and create adequate and equitable funding for schools. INPRA's award honors those who have consistently gone above and beyond to enhance education and convey its importance to the community at large. Congratulations to Dr. Sullivan on receiving this award, and thank you so much from all of us from the state to have equitable and adequate funding, possibly, hopefully.
The board salutes Dr. Mark Liu, Mattia Valley music educator, one of 5 teachers who will be honored by Northwestern University with the 2018 Distinguished Secondary Teacher Award. The award honors high school teachers who have touched the lives of Northwestern students and carry an award of $5,000 for each teacher and $5,000 for each of their schools. Nominated by former students, award recipients are the exceptional high school teachers who have had a lasting impact on their lives. Congratulations to Dr. Liu on this prestigious award.
Wow, fantastic.
I wasn't a student of his, and he's touched my life, so he's had a lasting impact on my life. So
I actually have 2. The board salutes Waubonsie Valley's Laura Schmidt, who was named state champion in the architectural board category at the Illinois Design Educators Association competition. The Warriors had 7 other medalists and 12 state qualifiers. Neuqua Valley had 6 state qualifiers who participated in the competition. Congratulations to Laura and all the students who participated. This is a kind of a big deal. The board salutes Kristen Matson, Waubonsie Valley's LMC director, who will be honored by the International Society for Technology and Education, or ITSE for short. I know about this because I'm in the technology space and education. This is a huge conference at McCormick Center. She was recognized as a 2018 ITSE Emerging Leader. The ITSE Emerging Leader Awards honors individuals 35 years or younger who demonstrate vision, innovation, action, and transformation in using technology to improve learning and teaching. Awardees demonstrate that they've made an impact on students and the education community, actively share ideas, and continually strive to improve their professional work. Congratulations to Kristen on this incredible, wonderful recognition.
Nearly 6,000 business professionals of America students competed at the National Leadership Conference in Dallas, Texas, and all District 204 high schools did very well. From Neuqua Valley, first place winners for small business management were Shreya Patel, Akshat Maish Weri, Vedika Ranjan. From Mattia Valley, Aryan Gandhi won first place for financial math and analysis, and from Waubonsie Valley, Courtney Arellano won first place in the Virtual Business Challenge. Congratulations to all our BPA students.
when you aced all those names and you stumbled over Waubonsie.
What can I say? And that's my home school. I apologize, Jason.
Good job on the names, though.
Waubonsie Valley Wind Ensemble earns top honors in the state. The board salutes the Waubonsie Valley Wind Ensemble, who earned the top spot for Class 4A at the University of Illinois Super State Concert Band Festival. They are invited back next year to perform as the 4A Honor Band. Congratulations to Waubonsie Valley music teachers Mark Duker, Kevin Carroll, Chris Dandiles, and all the music students on this wonderful honor.
And those are our salutes. And now it's time for our student representative report. For the last time this year, and for the last time, Kaitlyn Backe Kaitlyn Backe from Neuqua Valley High School. Kaitlyn is a junior. She has one more year, right?
Yeah, one more year as a Wildcat, which I look forward to. I have a lot planned for my senior year.
So thank you on behalf of the board for your year of service to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was an amazing opportunity. Okay. Hello, I am Kaitlyn Backe, and I am the 2017-2018 School Board Representative for Neuqua Valley. Sadly, next year's representative, Arya Naluri, is sick, so he looks forward to seeing you all next year. Neuqua has been very busy in the spring, so I will jump right into it. On Wednesday, April 11th, we hosted our Indian Prairie Scholars Ceremony. We also hosted a day of silence on April 11th to support the LGBTQ community. We hosted our NVSO concert, particularly to showcase solo talent. We had our annual Neuqua Honors Ceremony to congratulate various outstanding students. We dedicated the month of April to celebrate poetry. On April 19th, we hosted Confront the Elephant to educate students on substance abuse. The Neuqua Theater Department put on Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat for the spring musical on April 26th, 27th, and 28th. On May 5th, the senior class celebrated an elegant night under the stars at Drury Lane for their prom. We celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week, May 7th through May 11th, and had an ice cream social for our teachers on May 9th. On May 21st, we hosted our annual retirement celebration for our 2018 retirees. Our Wildcat caterers were able to go to the Disney Around the World competition and come home with second for their phenomenal side dish made by Reagan Oliver and Izzy Harder. We had a great celebration for our Indian Prairie Scholars, which is awarded to all seniors that have earned a 3.6 GPA or higher for 7 or more semesters. We also had an engineering design and development showcase. Michael Barron represented Neuqua at state for boys gymnastics, and he qualified in 6 events. Our baseball coach, Coach Renner, achieved his 500th win. Badminton won their sectional championship and brought home 4th at state. Boys water polo continued their winning streak and was ranked 3rd in the Daily Herald. The Neuqua math team finished 4th at state. We hosted our annual Canine Search to help protect staff and students. Personally, I appreciated this as it gave me a peace of mind and allowed me to know that our school is constantly working on improving safety. In the U.S. News and Report, Neuqua was ranked 16th in Illinois, and I'm very proud that Neuqua is also the highest ranked K-12 school. Girls track and field took on state this weekend. Freshman track member Riley Ammenhauser currently holds the national record for triple jumper. And this weekend was announced the state champion for triple jump. Junior McKenna Robinson medaled in the 800-meter race, finishing 3rd, and Corinna Penna qualified for the finals in the 1600-meter race, finishing in 9th. Corinna also competed in high jump, missing the finals by only 1 inch. Boys track and field were conference champions for the 3rd year in a row. Lastly, Neuqua hosted the Fine Arts Festival this weekend to celebrate all forms of art, grades K through 12. And that would be everything Neuqua has been up to lately. Any questions? I would personally like to thank Neuqua and the school board for this phenomenal opportunity. I would especially like to thank Dr. Sullivan for everything she does for this district, Dr. McBride for meeting with me before every meeting and cheering me on at every meeting, and Ms. Horvath for sending me reminders before every single meeting. Usually at this point, the school board representative will announce which college they're going to, but I am proud to announce that I have one more year at Neuqua Valley. But instead of being at this position, I will be passing it on to Arya and taking on the Student Council Executive President position. As difficult as it is to leave this position, I know for a fact that I'm leaving it in great hands. Thank you again, and as Dr. McBride always says, go Wildcats.
Thank you.
Good job.
So it is now time for public comment for non-agenda items. If you are here to speak to an agenda item, that comment will be taken immediately prior to that item. 30 minutes is allowed for public comment, and each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups. And as such, ask that you consider who the audience members are this evening and keep comments age appropriate. Public comments represent the voice and the opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. And our first non-agenda item speaker is Alona Orestes. And you can come up to here, Alona. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So last week, I was voted in as the Pages president for Wabonzi Valley High School Pages. So I thought I'd let everybody know that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just want to carry this banner on that the former president had carried all year. And I want to start by sharing a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who stated, "The secret in education lies in respecting the student." So I want to ask all who are able to and have the power to arrange to deal with the achievement gap, which is too wide between African American students and their peers. Education is not a choice, it is a right, and inclusion is not simply about physical proximity. It is about intentionally planning for the success of our students, all students. In order to realize the high expectations we have for our students, there needs to be appropriate action that is tailor-made to increase the grades of these students and hence bring about their academic potential. Frederick Douglass said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Let me use a comparison. None of us would drive around in a car with a broken exhaust pipe, okay? Closing the achievement gap is a win-win situation for all. Schools will experience higher grade averages, and school districts will also experience a positive impact on their averages. We ask that you seriously consider helping our students. All we're asking for is equity. And I thank you all for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alona, are you sticking around? Because we're actually going to
Yes.
have a great presentation.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Stan Logan. Welcome, Stan.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. My name is Stanley Logan, and I am the newly elected Vice President of Pages. I'm here tonight to continue to bring awareness to our plight for enrichment and equity in the District 204 for the advancement of our African American students. As an advocate for my own two children within the district, I'd like to make sure that all kids are getting the great education opportunity that the district has to offer and to provide within our community. Okay? As a state-ranked institutions, we are bound to provide the best education for our kids within the district, no matter race, color, or skin. As we continue to advocate for our kids, we really strive for equality and equity for all the kids so that they can continue to thrive within their school environments. In closing, I'd like to continue to lend my voice in making sure that all of our kids are provided the luxury of obtaining and exceeding their educational goals.
Thank you. So we usually go to the consent agenda and superintendent report, but we have a special proclamation today. And I'm going to ask Mr. Stan Corbatkin to come on up here.
I need to give a shout out to Stanley. I don't get a chance to do that many times. I don't know the gentleman, but Stanley in the room.
This is a bittersweet.
Yeah.
Mr. Corbatkin is going to retire from the district. I've known Mr. Corbatkin since 1991, where he served as band director at Hill Middle School. He moved on, bigger and higher, assistant principal, director of technology, assistant superintendent. And before I read this proclamation, I can say this, Stan, there is no one more detailed than you everything is done to the T. And every program that you ran, whether it was the band trip that we took together to Michigan, or the one-to-one implementation for the entire district, has been done in a meticulous manner that just serves our kids. And not only do you have the attention to detail, but more importantly, you're just a good guy. You care about kids. And that's really as important to me, and I think to our board, that you bring yourself and then you bring that hard work to the district. So our proclamation is as follows. Whereas Stan Corbatkin has served Indian Prairie School District 204 for the past 30 years, starting his career as a music teacher at Hill Middle School and Waubonsee Valley High School, and later serving as assistant principal at Still Middle School, principal at Crone Middle School, director of technology services, and assistant superintendent of technology services. And whereas Mr. Corbatkin, I've known you since '91, was selected as principal to use his strength in organization and planning to facilitate the opening of the new Crone Middle School at its present location. And whereas during his career, Mr. Corbatkin has received awards including Chicagoland Outstanding Music Educator, two-time recipient of the IPEF Most Influential Educator Award, and was a Golden Apple Award nominee. And whereas Mr. Corbatkin has been a key participant who represented District 204 in the highly regarded Digital Promise League of Innovative Schools, which pioneers innovative learning and leadership practices that prepare students for a lifetime of learning. And whereas Mr. Corbatkin has supported the computer redeployment program, providing hundreds of refurbished computers to students in need, was instrumental in the implementation of District 204's one-to-one technology plan, providing devices to enhance instructional learning, launched the middle school tech squads to facilitate troubleshooting of computer issues in the classroom, and always keep systems running so students can use technology during their school day to learn. And whereas Mr. Corbatkin has, there you go, meticulous attention to detail, a pleasant demeanor, an unwavering commitment to excellence in education, and is generally admired by staff and students throughout the district. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that as a measure of our esteem for Stan Corbatkin, we join unanimously in expressing our gratitude for the commitment and leadership he has given to all those who live and work in our district, and we recognize his sincere dedication to the young people of our community. We wish you the best of luck. Stan, thanks for all your contributions to the district.
Thank you all very much. This is very nice. Thank you. Over the last 30 years, I've learned many things throughout my work here at Indian Prairie, one of which is to keep it short at the board meetings, particularly when there's a long agenda, which there is tonight. With that said, this evening, I would simply like to express my heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity to serve our students and community for the past 30 years. It's gone by so fast. It's truly been an honor and a privilege to work alongside so many dedicated and talented leaders, school board members, building administrators, teachers, support staff, technology service staff, parents, and community partners in service to our students who bring meaning and purpose to our work every day. It really has been an honor and a privilege. And before I wrap up here, I just wanted to thank my wife, Julie, for almost surprising me tonight, and some of our tech staff for coming, and just something we do up here at the CEC. Anu, would you mind waving to everyone. Anu works in our department, helps keep us organized, and we could always judge how well someone is going to do when they're new in the district, because when they come by the technology department, I introduce Anu as the second most patient woman in the world. The real smart ones don't have to ask who the most patient woman is in the world, of course, my wife. But anyway, it really has been an honor and a privilege to be here, an honor of a lifetime, and I can't thank you all enough for this. I'll cherish it along with all my great memories here, and I look forward to helping support a good transition for my successor, Adam Smeets, who I've had a chance to talk with, and he'll be starting here in June, and our goal is just to support the best transition we can and keep things running and moving forward for our kids. Thank you all again.
We can't
very
thank
much.
you enough, Stan. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I get to follow that?
Yes, you do.
Good luck.
Great. Okay, so this is the last board meeting before graduation ceremonies, right, guys? On Thursday, and Sissy, I think I saw Sissy back there. Good. On Thursday night, May 24th at 7 o'clock, we'll hold graduation ceremonies at Indian Plains High School. Always one of my favorite events of the year. And then on Sunday, May 27th, our 3 high schools will hold their ceremonies at Northern Illinois University Convocation Center. The elements don't matter to us there, but this year the construction might. So we want people to pay attention to that. Metea Valley will start us off at 10 a.m., followed by Waubonsie Valley at 2, and then Neuqua Valley at 6 p.m. So again, for those who are attending, please pay attention to your school communications that are coming out about the construction on the way to NIU. You might want to look at some alternative routes and certainly make sure that you, if you need additional, that you may need additional time to get to the ceremonies, because we will start on time, right? On time.
Don't
Okay.
trust the GPS time. Yeah.
For those that are not able to attend, we will be live streaming the ceremony, so please check our website for more information about that. And I know this is a day that we always look forward to. It's a long day for the board, but a rewarding one when we see our students cross that stage. On another note, on behalf of the teachers, staff, students, and families of Indian Prairie District 204, we want to thank our Indian Prairie Parents Council for organizing a gift card donation drive to support our low-income students. The IPPC did this it seemed like in a very short amount of time. They recognized a need for support of this growing student population, and they've collected a total of $4,677 to support our students. So these funds will have a tremendous impact and provide a positive start. The idea for the funds are for school supplies to start the school year, or needs that students have for students returning in August, so we can't thank them enough for that. And since this is our last board meeting before the school year ends, I would acknowledge our staff members who are retiring this year, just came from the Neuqua event where they were honoring their retirees. We have a very large number of this year. We have a total of 88 staff members retiring. We have 63 members of our Teachers Association, 21 members of IPCA, 2 non-bargaining employees, and 2 administrators retiring at the end of the year. So we want to thank them for their total of 1,752 and a half years, total years of service to Indian Prairie District 204. So they have contributed certainly to the success of our district and to our students, and we wish them well as they enter that new chapter in their lives. So congratulations to all of them. And then finally, we have one administrative position tonight that is on the agenda, and it's for our assistant principal position at Crone Middle School beginning July 1st. And we're pleased to bring forward Susan Forcash for this position. Susan, I'll ask you to stand up so we all see who you are. Susan comes to us most recently from LaGrange District 102, where she's worked as a teacher and teacher leader since 2003. Susan has her bachelor's degree from Knox College and her master's from National Louis University. And I think she was a basketball coach, and I think as soon as she stood up, I knew why. She was a basketball coach. So we're excited to recommend Susan Forcash for your approval to the position of assistant principal at Crone Middle School.
Thank you, and I need a motion to approve Susan as assistant principal.
I'll make a motion for the Board of Education to approve Ms. Susan Forcash as Assistant Principal at Crone Middle School as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Jackie, call the roll.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Motion passes. Welcome to District 204. We now move to our consented agenda items, and I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve consent agenda items F through N.
I move that the Board of Education approve consent agenda items F through M.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Jackie, will you call the roll?
Bear with me for a moment.
That
I
was
have
F.
to make an adjustment for N.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. The second was that you, Ms. Pam? Okay. Okay, now I'm ready for F through M. Mr. Krubis?
Yes.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye. Motion passes. Mr. Karubas, you left N out.
I move that the Board of Education approve the personnel report with the exception of Ricky Amasquita and Angela Merriweather.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Jackie, can you call the roll?
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Ms. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye. Motion passes. We are now moving to our action items, and we have a speaker before our first action item. I think Mr. Gamboa knows the drill, but we're going to go through the drill anyway. And the action is the approval of the 2018 to 2022 IPEA contract. Again, you're limited to 3 minutes.
It won't be that long.
I think you'll respect us. All right, go ahead, Paul.
Okay. In my 10 years of leadership with IPEA, District 204 has always demonstrated that in all of our interactions between the association, administration, and the Board of Education, that collaboration is a critical component of any successful school district. As we like to say, we attack the problem and not each other. The last 6 months of negotiations have shown our commitment to this core belief, and while we have spent a tremendous amount of time with each other face to face, we remain focused on one thing: how can we address our problems in a collaborative and a respectful manner? I want to thank the Board of Education, our administrative team, our Board Attorney Jack Hanna, and the IPEA negotiating team, many of whom have joined us tonight, for remaining focused on the reason we are all here: what's best for kids. We remain driven to focus on what truly matters, and I truly appreciate the Board's negotiating team for coming to the table, devoted to working together for our over 2,000 teachers and 28,000 students to reach an agreement that is respectful to our kids, to the public, and shows how much the Board of Education values our teachers. I want to thank everyone involved for this truly collaborative experience and for listening, actively problem solving, and focusing on what truly matters, a great education for all our students. So on behalf of IPEA, I want to truly thank the board and our administrative team for working together towards our common goals, and that is inspiring all students to achieve their greatest potential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
And then I need a motion that the Board of Education approve the 2018 to 2022 IPEA agreement as presented.
I move that the board approve the 2018-2022 IPEA agreement as presented.
Second.
And we have a second. Mr. Precarious.
Great, thank you. Paul said a lot of these things, so I'll just say the Indian Prairie Education Association, or IPA, represents our licensed teaching staff. There are over 2,100 employees in this bargaining group, and they make up close to 70% of our workforce. The agreement that you have before you is the result of a long process that began with the board back in September before we started talks with the IPA. We were directed to focus on the obvious financial aspects of living within our means, but also to look toward aligning our contract dollars in a manner that best supports student achievement. Retaining and recruiting a quality, motivated workforce was a key focus, as over the last decade we've become less competitive with comparable districts. We hear from our parents all the time about the importance of keeping quality teachers in the classroom. This goal has been increasingly difficult to attain as educational funding has become less predictable. The administration does feel that the financial aspects of this contract is a step in the right direction while still sustaining a positive financial outlook. The bargaining teams began officially meeting in November of 2017, met for 15 sessions, and clocked in well over 100 hours of bargaining. These hours include only those when the two bargaining teams were meeting together and don't take into account the hours spent by each team preparing for the sessions or for the subcommittees that met to hammer out the contract language. We reached a tentative agreement on Thursday, May 10th, 2018. The result is a 4-year agreement that is before you. This contract calls for an increase in new money for salaries of 4.13% for 18-19 school year, 3.5% for the 19-20 school year, 3.43% for the 20-21 school year, and 3.46% for the 21-22 school year. The salary changes include base salary increases step each year and the removal of longevity stipends. Additionally, the contract includes stipend movement for extracurricular sponsors and coaches. The contract includes annual savings of around $1 million from changes to health care benefits and/or health care planned. The contract also includes language that may change the terms or terminate the contract after year 2 if the district experiences significant financial changes due to legislative financial changes from the state. On behalf of the administrative team and the Board of Education, I'd like to thank Paul Gamboa, the IPEA president, Katie Popp, the IPEA lead negotiator, and the entire IPEA bargaining team for their hard work, dedication, and commitment to the district and to the bargaining process. And the IPEA membership ratified this agreement on Friday, May 18th, 2018, with a 71% approval rate. At this time, the administration recommends that the Board of Education approve the Indian Prairie Education Association negotiated agreement as presented.
Thank you. Questions? Hearing none, Jackie, call the roll, please.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Because I have a relative in the bargaining unit, I need to recuse myself from this vote. I will vote present. However, as everyone said here, negotiations are a very delicate and fine balance. They go back and forth. But the spirit that was expressed today in terms of the collaboration and the work together to honor teachers and honor our staff, which is really important, and do it in a fiscally responsible manner is really important to this board and this community. Our excellence is a direct result of this kind of cooperation that we continually receive. So my vote is present.
Mr. Rising?
Yeah, I forgot we were voting on it. No, okay. Aye, yes.
Ms. Peel?
Aye. This is a good aye this time around, too, I gotta say. One of the best contracts that since I've been on the board. So I'm really, really happy, and thank you guys all for your hard work.
And that's it. Motion
That's it.
passes
Yes, I
6-0.
apologize. Motion
And
passes.
one present. Congratulations, everyone. And since we're on a roll, we are now recommending the approval of the 2018-19 non-bargaining salaries. Do I have a motion to do so?
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2018-2019 non-bargaining salaries as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second.
All right, in District 204, we have tried to be consistent with all of our employee groups. So oftentimes our employees, most of the time, have similar insurance, similar working conditions, and we have tried to stay consistent with them. So under this, we're recommending to the Board of Education to approve the same, these are for 1 year though, unlike a teacher's contract, 4.13 salary increase for 2018-19 school year for non-bargaining employees. This group of employees includes occupational therapists, physical therapists, registered nurses, administrative assistants, business support staff, HR support staff, tech services support staff, communication support staff, science technicians, piano accompanists, and Title I school-wide facilitators. We ask that the Board of Education approve the increase for the 2018-19 school year.
Questions? Hearing none, Jackie, call the roll.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye. Motion passes. We now move on to the approval of the 2018-19 administrative contracts and salaries. Do I have a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion, Board of Education approve the 18-19 administrative contracts and salaries as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Great. Under the same logic, we have our administrative group in the district who also, which I think is unique to our district, shares the same insurance plan and coverages as do our other employee groups. And so at this time, we recommend the Board of Education approve that same increase for the 2018-19 school year of 4.13%. For administrative employees, this group includes all principals, assistant principals, athletic directors, and central administrators.
Questions?
I'd like to just make a comment. As with our teachers and our classified staff, I feel we have some of the best administrators, if not the best administrators in the state of Illinois. Administrators oftentimes get a bad rap, that they're paid too high. And I just wanted to make a comment that we have always, as a board, even before my tenure on board, aligned the raises of administration to our teachers and our classified staff. As many may or may not know, the number of administrators we have is one of the least amount compared to students in the state of Illinois. In other words, we have one administrator to so many students. That ranks very, very low or high, depending on how you look at it. So we do not have a lot of administrators. We are not top heavy as an organization. And our administrators, for us being the third or fourth largest district in the state, are not paid the third or fourth best, as you know, one could make the argument they should be. So I just wanted to make a comment regarding our administrators, because oftentimes they are branded that they get paid too much, and I don't think we would have as excellent of a district we do if we didn't have the administrators we have. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Other comments? Jackie, call the roll, please.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
We now are moving to the approval of our Title I school-wide plans. I need a motion to do so.
I move that the Board of Education approve the Title I school-wide plans as presented.
Second.
And I think we have Ms. Johnston here.
Hi. Thank you so much, board members, for allowing us to share with you our Title I plans. The Illinois State Board of Education allows us to look at using our Title I funds school-wide when schools reach a point where their low-income students is between 20 and 40% students. So 3 of our schools, Gombard Elementary School, Collishaw Elementary School, and McCarty Elementary School, have been working all year with their leadership teams to develop plans and to conduct a needs assessment to determine how they can best utilize funds to serve those students. So we ask for your approval tonight of those 3 plans. We also provided for you the plans for Longwood and Georgetown. Those 2 schools, Title I schools, were approved as school-wide back in 2011, but those teams at those 2 schools updated their plans. Any questions?
I just had a comment. I was very, it pleased me when I saw this. I think it's a great opportunity. Georgetown, I had the opportunity the first day of school to go and we were together, help welcome students, and to see the LMC, their portable seating that they were able to take advantage of, and it's something that benefited all students at that school. So to see the types of things that can occur at each school with this being a school-wide opportunity, I think is fabulous.
Absolutely. It's beneficial for all students.
Other questions, comments? Jackie, call the roll, please.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye. Motion passes. I'm going to do a little bit before this. Our next agenda item is the approval of the Board of Education IASB, IASA, IASBO. That's actually the 2018 annual conference. And by law, we have to estimate our travel expenses, do this in public. And so, and this conference is held in November. So what we're doing, for the audience sake, I think on the board we know what we're doing, is approving our estimated travel expenses for our participation in our staff development in November. So do I have a motion to approve those estimated travel expenses?
I move that the Board of Education approve the Board of Education IASB, IASA, IASBO 2018 Annual Conference estimated travel expenses as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just for clarification, that's the conference that's held in our state.
Correct.
Yep, just wanted to make that clarification.
Jackie, call the roll, please.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Mr. Karubas?
Yes.
Ms. Donahue?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Motion passes. I need to explain this because we're going to have to try to identify someone. And the person who has been the representative for IPEF has been myself. So, in around August in 2016, the Board of Education engaged in a memorandum of understanding with the Indian Prairie Education Foundation. Of course, we love the foundation because they help identify school and student needs. They develop ways to provide valuable support for our district, and they help support our creative and teaching enrichment programs. But a portion of this memorandum of understanding, which was new, was the participation of a board member from this board on the Indian Prairie Foundation Board. And I have found it to be very helpful in terms of two-way communication. I think the foundation has found it helpful in terms of really recognizing what district goals are, what board goals are, and what the limitation of our resources are in order that we can provide the best services to our students. So having someone on that board, I think, is extremely beneficial. Since I've been on it for a couple of years, I think it's time to have someone else assume that responsibility. So I'm looking for someone to do that.
I would be interested in that.
Okay.
Actually, I think Ms. Donahue is a very good choice for that position. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Education determines that it is appropriate, because we have to have a motion before we discuss it, so.
Yeah, well, yes.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education determines that it is appropriate for the Board of Education, that the Board of Education be represented on the Board of Directors of IPEF, and that the Board of Education approves the appointment of school board member Ms. Lori Donahue to the Indian Prairie Educational Foundation's Board of Directors effective July 1st, 2018, as presented.
Second.
A motion and a bevy of seconds. Any discussion?
As I started to say, I think it's a great choice. I think it's important that, you know, with our new board members, although I really can't call you new anymore, because it's been a year. So now we're throwing you into the fire. But I do think it's important that we have our newest members get involved in some of those other activities that benefit the board and benefit the district. I know Susan was involved in the Engage 204, did a great job with that in coordinating that and giving us all the information pertaining to that. And I think, Lori, I think this is a good chance for you to, again, represent the board in that role. And I know you'll do what's best for the district as well. So I was happy to nominate you.
I echo those sentiments.
I agree.
I appreciate any volunteer school board member that wishes to volunteer further on another board that also has volunteer opportunities. So.
Early morning meetings too, right?
Oh, you didn't tell me. I didn't hear about that.
You're retired. You can do this.
Yeah, that's right. I have all this time.
Yes.
I had a chance to serve on that foundation's board. My father was one of the founding members, and I would definitely support your role in that board. Thank you.
And really, before it is too late, why do we call the roll? Jackie?
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Peel?
Aye.
Mr. Carubus?
Yes.
Ms. Deming?
Aye.
Mr. Rising?
Aye.
Mr. Rasak?
Aye.
Ms. Donahue?
Oh, can I vote on this myself? Okay, aye.
Motion passes. We are now moving to our discussion items. We're going to discuss our Equal Opportunity Schools update. No, Dr. Lee is here. I know we have students here. I was wondering if our award-winning principals were going to be with us, but I'd actually rather listen to students. So, Dr. Lee.
Good evening, board members. We're excited to be here tonight to talk with you about our ongoing partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to take the time to introduce and thank again Dr. Tracy Conrad. She is our assigned partnership director for the district from Equal Opportunity Schools. And in my opinion, and the opinion I believe of EOS, is the best, because we asked for the best, and this is who they sent us. So tonight, we're going to take some time just to do some review and really have a moment to hear a little bit more from the stars of the show here, are the three individuals that are sitting next to me. We have with us a student representative from each of the 3 large high schools with us tonight, and you'll hear a lot more about their experience in just a moment. So the first part of tonight, we like to just talk a little bit about how our work with Equal Opportunity Schools fits within our overall equity implementation plan. We'll hear a little bit about some of the reoccurring goals and outcomes of EOS. We'll get a chance to really have an opportunity for the students to tell their story and for you to give a chance to talk a little bit about some of their experiences with Equal Opportunity Schools. And then with the review of some of our first year data with our first cohort group of students. And then finally, we'd like to tell you a little bit about some future plans with Equal Opportunity Schools and how that fits. And with that, before I introduce or turn it over to Dr. Conrad, in our equity implementation plan, we have 4 identified strands in that plan. Within that plan, there are a lot of workable, actual activities with goals, and this, the work of Equal Opportunity Schools actually fits into the teaching and learning strand, and then some of those other strands include leadership, professional development and growth, and then family and community engagement. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Conrad.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to come back. I always like to start with the why of our work, and that is that we believe, and research will back us up, that the #1 predictor of college success is having a rigorous high school experience. So our goal is to make sure that every student that wants to go to college or any post-secondary endeavor take at least 1 AP class, preferably 2, to help prepare them. That's what the research tells us will really increase their chances of graduating. So with that, can we go to the next slide, please? So if we look at the graduation rates of individuals, I think this is probably one of the most stunning slides, and again, the why. And you can look at that and see that different groups of students graduate from college at really different rates. So our premise is that if we encourage students who may fly below the radar in our school, these are students who should be taking AP classes, but because maybe they do not know about AP classes or the correlation that AP has with being successful in post-secondary endeavors, we make it our purpose to reach out to them and ensure that they have that opportunity. Like the different demographics of racial demographics, we look at the low SES. It's pretty stunning that the upper quartile represents over half of the students who graduate from college. And if you look at the bottom quartile, which is less than $34,933 per year, which is actually pretty high, they represent less than 10% of the graduates. So with that, we'll turn it over to the stars.
Yeah, and please, we encourage you to ask questions throughout our presentation. So with us tonight, we have, as I said earlier, 3 student representatives from each of the 3 large high schools. At this time, I'm going to let them all introduce themselves.
I'm Eliana Cepeda.
What school are you from?
Oh, I'm from Wabanzi Valley High School, and I'm a senior.
Good evening, everyone. I am Christian Charlie, and I'm a senior at Neuqua Valley High School.
Go blue.
Yeah, go blue. Yeah.
Go blue, indeed.
Right.
I'm Owen Ravello. I'm a senior at Medea Valley High School.
And we'd like to, with all of them, we actually have their parents in the audience tonight too, so we do want to thank them for being here. Before we turn it over to them, one of the things that we do with our work with EOS is every single student in the building, 9th through 12th grade, takes a survey. And that survey looks at a number of things. It looks at their level of grit. It looks at how determined they are. It looks at some of the challenges or things that may barriers that may keep them from wanting to take an AP course. It also looks at how many teachers may advocate that for them that feel that they should be in an AP course. And this survey, the results of that is listed in what we call a student insight card. And that student insight card is really a powerful piece of data because it really gives a visual and very demographical look at a student and their story. And this is just a sample. And what you see are some of the things includes their goals, their career interests, the apples that will be up there are equatable to the number of teachers who feel that this is a student who not only is ready for an AP course but belongs there. And then it also, based upon some of their answers, will show identifiable skill sets that the students have. And some of the most powerful things really are the students' comments. The EOS survey captures, allows for the students to list some of their goals and challenges and beliefs that they have. And these really are some of the most powerful pieces that we have. So with that, we're gonna turn this over a little bit to our students. And I think we'll get started by asking them a couple of questions just about their experiences. So with that, Dr. Conrad?
Yeah, and so this is rather informal, but we knew that you would much rather hear from them than us. And so we'll start off with, we'll ask each one of you, tell us a little bit about yourself, and especially like what are you planning to do next year?
And before you start, will you just share that you all agreed to have us see your insight cards and that your families agreed that it was okay for us to show these, right? Yeah. I just want to make sure everybody is okay with that. All right? Okay.
I'm Liliana Cepeda. I talk about the beginning, right? Yeah. Okay, so in the beginning, I did plan on taking an AP class, but I wasn't sure. I was nervous because I didn't expect what it had. But we had a meeting at our school with other students about AP classes, and they talk about how it would benefit us. And so that's where I decided that I did want to take an AP class my senior year. And I was nervous. I've never taken an AP class. But after, I can say that I was glad that I took one because the teachers there, they also help out, if you need help. And yeah, I was very comfortable taking an AP class.
This mic is a little sensitive. So, was it you? I apologize. So for me, my name is Christian Charlie once again. Thank you all for having me here. A little bit about myself. Again, I'm a senior at Neuqua Valley High School, and some of the things I like to do for interest is music. I'm a musician and also a writer and a poet. So April was a great month for me. And in terms of what I'm going to be doing next year, I will be heading to the University of Michigan, go Blue, and I'll be getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts in the Performing Arts Technology with a third-year focus in music production. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very happy to see what the future will hold for me. So for me, in terms of when it comes to AP classes, this goes along with just who I am as a person and what my experience was. So I knew that for me, AP classes, I started when I was a freshman. I believed the stigma that, if you were in an AP class, that you were better than everyone else. And, when I got into junior year, I started to not believe that stigma so much. And by senior year, when I'm in an AP class, I just think that stigma is should be non-existent, frankly. So when it comes to me and AP classes, again, relating to who I am as a person, I genuinely believe that AP classes are there just to better you overall. And they're definitely challenging. For me, I'm taking AP Calculus AB and then also AP Music Theory. There's Honors Chinese too, which allows me to take the AP test. I don't know if you can consider that an AP course, of course. But for me, with what I learned from those AP classes is that they challenge you, and not necessarily with amounts of homework. I rarely got homework in any of those classes, but the homework that I did get was a lot, and it was challenging for me to get through. But what I learned from there is just how prepared I could be for a college standpoint and just how prepared I can be for an adult standpoint now as well, thanks to those AP classes. So it was very beneficial to me to see something like that happen in such a short amount of time. And what I learned from that is that, yes, I shouldn't believe the stigma that AP classes make me better. Just because I'm in an AP class doesn't mean I'm somehow higher on the social hierarchy when it comes to being a teenager or being an adult. AP classes are there just for those who want a challenge. And if you want a challenge, then AP class is there to help you. It's there to better you as a person, not to better you on, a social status. And overall, I think the main lesson that I got from AP courses is a responsibility factor. What I learned from each of my AP teachers, Mr. Coos for Calculus AB and then Mr. Remington for AP Music Theory, was that they treat the course as if they were actual college professors. In the past, teachers would be trying to help you get an A, help you in any way they can. They would intentionally reach out and reach their limits to make sure that you get a good grade. In AP courses, it's a little different because all that responsibility is on you now. If you got a problem with your homework, you go to the teacher. If you don't understand something, you go to the teacher. The teacher won't really reach out to you, and I think that's a good thing because it allows you to better yourself with the responsibility factor. So I think that with Mr. Remington and Mr. Coos allowing me to take that responsibility, if I was confused on something, if I didn't know how to do the integral of f of x dx, I would go to Mr. Coos about that. If I didn't know what the interval for a minor third in music or like a dissonant fifth, and I was just really confused about that, Mr. Remington was right there for me. And they're always open. They love it when people go to them and when they're honest. So I think with that preparation, it just betters you, especially going into college, as I know most people go to a 2 or 4 year college. So I think with that preparation, it's just super beneficial, and I think overall it betters you as a person. So yes.
Good job. Thank you. Once again, I'm Owen. Hi. So for future plans, I'm planning on actually going to Columbia College to get my Bachelor of Arts in Game Design. So, woo. I'm also a music student, so. For my AP courses, originally, as of last year, I was planning on taking one AP course, AP Computer Science, before, just because I knew that I wanted to do a programming course, and that was the only course offered by our school that was actually somewhat rigorous and that had the content that I wanted to learn. I also took another course, AP Environmental Science, which I was recommended to take by by my science teacher last year. Last year, physics was not as hard. I ended up moving from regular physics to honors physics, and that's probably why my teacher recommended that I took a AP Environmental Science class, because originally I wanted to do horticulture. He told me, you should probably take environmental science. I bet you'd do great. Turns out I did. Going into the course, I didn't really know what to expect. I haven't heard too much about AP courses in terms of what actually happens during the course. I know students have taken the course. There was a little bit of a stigma of, oh, we're slightly better than you, but not as much to turn me away from the actual classes. Going into it, it was a lot more challenging than I was expecting at first. I remember in AP Environmental Science, the first project we did was just suddenly, all right, you're making a project about butterflies, go. And it was very surprising, it was hard at first, but once I understood what was going on, I kind of got into it, and I enjoyed myself a lot. The classes are a lot more enriching than many of the other regular classes, and I definitely recommend it. As mentioned earlier, the AP classes are usually treated like actual college level classes. The teachers don't necessarily aren't necessarily on top of you about what you should be doing. They just tell you, here's the assignment, we're going to teach you the content, hopefully you do it. If you do, that's great. Do your best. I'd say that overall that AP classes have been quite beneficial, and it's nice that they also offer some credits for college because it is a college level course and you do actually learn things that you would learn in college. So taking the class was helpful and insightful to stuff that I'll end up doing in the future.
So can I ask a question?
Go for it.
You guys, I have a lot of respect for. I went to a lot of forums in the high school, conducted by the principals. The principals would say, what would you take? The class that gives you the easy A or the AP class that you might get a B or C for? And our schools are reflective of American education. Doesn't matter who you are. Most of the kids said the easy A. So we could have, I'm glad the principals aren't here.
They are here.
They are here.
I know they're here. They're not here. Yeah, I don't care if they're over there. How do we normalize that it's better to challenge yourself than get that easy A? I mean, what was your experience? What do you think? How do you get your friends to say, you know, this was good?
Personally, I gotta say the classes themselves are pretty fun. So other than the fact that it's harder to actually take the class, I've had, most of my friends are actually from the AP classes as throughout this past year. So it's more enjoyable than an easy A class where you would get bored. But in terms of grade-wise, AP classes are weighted 1 point more than other grades. So if you get a B, that's comparable to get an easy A. But if you get an A, it's like an extra boost.
Yeah, for me, I would personally say that taking the AP class should be the normal. And I think that, again, it kind of goes back to that whole status point. I think people want that easy A just to say, hey, I got an A in the class, you know. But I think that overall in those AP classes, you are getting a different teaching feel, and you're overall getting a better, what's the word I'm looking for? Overall, a better environment that you can learn in. I remember in my AP Music Theory course that the first thing that we were tasked to do was just write a definition of music as a class. And on our tests that we have, and funny thing I should mention is that Mr. Remington, my teacher, doesn't call them tests, he calls them celebrations of knowledge.
I like that.
And he calls actual celebrations tests. It was the weirdest thing in the world, but I've grown to love it. So now I just see every test as a celebration of knowledge. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm celebrating my knowledge. But one of the things that he actually put on the test is that he mentioned to us specifically that anything, and he means anything we've talked about, could be on this test regarding music or not music. And the second question that was on my first celebration was, what was the name of my kids? And as soon as I saw the question, I kind of just turned to Mr. Remington and just give him a look like. So I think overall AP classes just, again, give you a different environment and a different feel. The same thing goes for my Calculus AB course, and Mr. Coos is a bundle of energy. He's fun to work with and overall just amazing to talk to. You can come to him about anything, and I've seen some people even go to him about personal issues because in an AP course you just have that kind of connection with your teachers, and in that environment you can open up to people, whether it be about academics or not academics. So when I got into that environment, it just overall gave me a better feeling. So I think if we can normalize the fact that you should feel something worthwhile in your future and not feel like just a status to brag about, then I think a lot of people would be more interested in taking AP courses. So I think if we can get that out to the general public, especially teenagers, in some way, shape, or form, I think that could change or start even a revolution, especially in the 204 district.
Thank you.
I also think, like for myself, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. So I think some students just overthink, like how I do. But once you take an AP course, you realize that it is challenging, but you're able to like overcome it and realize that it's not as hard as you thought it was hard. So taking an AP class is definitely, you should definitely do it. like you learn something different, but you're able to, like, what am I trying to say? You're able to, like, it's hard, but like you know that you're able to do it as long as you're motivated, because you build a relationship with teachers, so like that helps even more to get more help. And yeah.
Good, thanks, guys. Sorry to interrupt.
I have a question for them. So you went in, you had some goals already for your future. Did taking the course alter your goals or have any kind of effect on your future goals at all?
So for me, taking the AP courses, I think just furthered my future goals because I did take them specifically for what I wanted. AP Music Theory obviously would benefit me as I'm going into music for college. And then Calculus AB, I've always just been fond of math. I always thought it was very interesting, and whenever I'm challenged with something new, going from simple algebra to like AX plus BX equals C, to something like taking the integral of f of x dx equals some kind of quadratic formula. And I think that just intrigued me in a sense, even to the point where my dad even asked me, "Are you sure you want to do music in college? You seem like you're very fond of, you know, what you do in math." And I'm just thinking like, yeah, I'm fond of it, but it's just fun. I love music too. And math, I feel like it's just something that just kind of got thrown my way, and I just started enjoying it. So I can understand why he would say that. But overall, I think music was the thing that, you know, set ablaze in me. It's something that I enjoy. So to be able to take an AP Music Theory course like that just furthered my future goals as a person and what I wanted to do in my future. So.
Okay. Originally, when before I started taking any AP classes, I had some experience in terms of programming, and that's why I originally wanted to take an AP computer science class, is that way I could enrich myself with that. And once again, I'm going on into game design, and one element of game design is the code behind it. So having a at least basic understanding of that is very important. And so in terms of that class, my future goals haven't changed. But since I've taken AP Environmental Science, I've actually seen the light of more of how the world actually works, and in a way became a mini hippie.
Awesome.
It was a very enriching experience, and I'm glad I took the class because now I know a lot of things that I wouldn't have known before.
Okay, great.
I am Mexican, and so speaking Spanish, it's not the best, so I took AP Spanish, and this did help my language a little better, and this helped me because I'm able to, in the Spanish class, I'm able to speak more Spanish, and we do like a lot of academic discussion, so we're always interacting with the students speaking Spanish 24/7, and this did benefit me because I'm able to speak it just a little bit tiny better. But in the future, I'm going to attend Aurora University and get a major in biology for a physician's assistant or a nurse, so I'll be able to speak both languages and help patients out if like they don't know English.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Just a quick question. Extremely impressed with all three of you, and just phenomenal, so thank you so much. One of the reasons that, correct me if my assumption is wrong, but one of the reasons that I think that you may be sitting here is because were AP classes not something that was presented to you earlier, or I'm just, is that the reason that, was that, I guess if you can confirm that or help me, Dr. or either one of you. And I'm saying that because I'm just so impressed. Obviously, you've had success, so I can see, I mean, it's so critical for us to make sure that all students have an opportunity to experience classes that are challenging, because if part of EOS is to help us ensure that students who aren't usually recommended or haven't been identified for AP or honors courses have that access. So that's why I was asking if that's why you were sitting here, if that conversation had not taken place as freshmen or sophomores. But they are certainly representative of exactly why it is so crucial for us to ensure that all students have those conversations with our parents and with them.
Right, and I think that I can speak to generally, this is a pretty good representation of the students that we're identifying. And many of them said that they had entertained the thought of taking AP classes, so I don't want to try to say that, oh, they would have never ended up in an AP class had we not landed on the scene.
Okay.
However, there are 300 of these students. And so, again, these are academically talented students that for some reason, by the time they're juniors and seniors, have not enrolled in an AP class. And so if you look at the insight card, traditionally, you may look at maybe test scores, a teacher recommendation, hey, you're good in this, maybe you should think about it, or even grade point average. And when we look at an insight card, we have over 30 data points that we pour into this insight card, and it's a much more comprehensive overview of the student and their skills. So far beyond a grade point average, you're looking at things like, do they have mindset, do they have grit, do they have a focus and academic understanding of themselves. It's much more comprehensive and less focused on strictly academics. And so, again, most of these students, I can say, at some point thought, well, maybe I should do that. We're just kind of there to nudge them in the door and make sure they don't get out once that we nudge them in.
Go to the slide with all three of them, please. The student who survived the zombie apocalypse. He doesn't need college. He'll do a fine job there. Those skills. Did AP Environmental Science provide you an opportunity to attend Tree Haven? Is that still happening?
That I did. I was presented the opportunity. I personally didn't take it because money issues. But we had we've had other field trips like to Fermilab, and that was also a fun field trip. And if you see our greenhouse at the school, we've been up there before, even though we're not in horticulture. So that's pretty fun.
Good. That's it. Thanks.
I like the greenhouse, by the way.
And can I ask a question of all of you? What advice would you give to others? I mean, you guys, as the board members have talked about, you're at the end of this process. You know, what would you do to someone who is just terrified of challenging themselves or taking an AP course, or as we read some of the insight cards, some of you put up there, you know, you were just afraid of not getting a good grade or what it might mean with the time. What would you give to that student who has some of those same thoughts right now, and maybe walk us through what you would say to them and maybe how it was for you and maybe how your mindset changed?
So for me, I'd say my advice for any person who's thinking about taking an AP course is simple. Just do it. It's really that simple. And I think that, you shouldn't fall for this stigma, because I've seen it before, and some people just take AP. There's two different types of stigmas I've seen. Some people don't take it because they're afraid or that they think like they're not on that social status, and then there's others who take it just to be like on the status themselves. I remember seeing some people who absolutely hate history or hate the science, but then I see them in like AP US History or AP Environmental Science, and then they come to me and complain to me. I'm like, what's wrong? And they said, I absolutely don't like this class. So I'm like, why did you take it then? And they say, just because, it's an AP course, I just wanted to take an AP course. And I just look at them with like the most dumbfounded face in the world. But what I think, you should take the AP course if you truly want to. If you truly want to be challenged, take an AP course that you feel like you will enjoy. Because I can tell you, to anyone who's thinking about it right now, if you are taking a course that you don't think you're going to enjoy, it's going to suck. because you are required to do things that you didn't even have interest in the first place. So that is dare I say, a very naive decision that you should think about in the future or before you sign up for an AP course in general. So they do have AP courses for a lot of things. If you're a fan of computer science, there's AP Comp Sci. If you love your math, there's Calculus AB, BC, Calc 3. If you love your history, not really too much of a fan of that, sorry, but you have your AP US History and much more. Science, you have AP Environmental Science, and also much more AP Physics. So there's a plethora of things that you can take in order to, challenge yourself, but also, feel free and have enjoyment in what you do. So don't be afraid just because you hear the word advanced placement and you don't think you're good enough. You are good enough because you're willing to do it. You want to do it, and therefore that makes you good enough. So don't be afraid.
I would definitely suggest them to take, whether it's one AP class or two or however many, to just take it. Coming from someone who was nervous, didn't know what to expect from an AP class, as long as you put in the time and effort, you're gonna receive a good score. Just as long as you're willing to do the work and put in the time and effort into every project or whatever it is. It not only benefits you from like your grades, but it also gives you college credit, which is good. Yeah, agreeing with you. I think most of the students think that they're not good enough or they're not in the advanced place, but it's not true. As long as you're willing to take whichever AP course you want to, it's going to help you in whatever you want to do.
So can I ask a question really quick? And this was something I asked when you were here, what was it, year ago already? Year and a half? I can't remember when we first started talking about equal opportunity schools. My biggest concern back then, and it still is today, and I'm going to ask the three of you, although you don't strike me as this, but so my main concern was with students that maybe are borderline of wanting to take a honors or AP course. My fear was, are we setting them up for failure? Are we setting them up to get even more discouraged or frustrated or pressured with school in general? And I said we cannot do that unless those students are fully aware of the supports or the help that's in place with those particular courses. And Christian, you kind of made a reference to it earlier when you said, what one of the big things it taught you was the responsibility and the accountability to make sure that you went and asked if you were having problems. But and typically the smart kids, they're already doing that, right? They're already doing stuff like that. So my concern is those kids that maybe haven't or not thought about an honors or AP course, and now you put them in this situation and they don't know how to advocate for themselves or how to go and ask for a teacher. Is there enough, are you told enough times, I guess, in these classes, like, here's the office hours, come to get, if you need help, come to get help. Do you feel like there's enough support there for you if you were struggling? Because what I don't want to see is those kids fail and then you just totally devastated them for education maybe, so I just wanted you to talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So I believe that there is a ton of support that you can get, whether that be from your teachers themselves, or if that be from the administration or the principal even. I think you have a lot of support when it comes to going into an honors or an AP course, but at the same time, it has to be kind of an equal, what's the word I'm looking for?
I was going to hold your hand, basically, to pull you over.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be in that equal setting between both the administration and also the student. So yes, the administration can always nudge and always support those who they feel should be in an AP course, but at the same time, if they genuinely don't think that they want to do it, or if they really don't want to do it, there's only so much that you can or should do. Because then if you throw them into something that they didn't feel like they wanted to be in or weren't willing to be in afterwards, then yeah, everything just becomes a tumbleweed after that. So it has to be kind of a 50-50 effort between both the administration and the student themselves. Sometimes those students just need that small little nudge in order to get into an AP class, that small bit of encouragement. And then I think once they get that encouragement, they'll still be a little nervous maybe when they get into the AP course, but they know that there's someone out there that they can depend on if they have questions on, you know, how to ask a teacher for help, or if they're confused on what necessarily they're doing in the course, or how it's different between a regular course and why they were put in there. You know, I think they'll have that encouragement to help back them up and just know that there's always someone that they can go to help them get through what they're going through.
In my personal case, in my AP Computer Science class, AP Computer Science isn't necessarily the easiest thing to grasp, just knowing native languages, because you're basically learning a whole new language from scratch, almost literally. So in our class, we have a lot of students who do need a lot of help and attention, and the teacher, our teacher, Mr. Riddle, does his best to encourage the students. He helps them after school hours if he can, during lunch. Whenever he is available, he tries to lend his time to help the students. We have resources at our school called fish bowls where students could always go in and get help whenever, and we're constantly told, hey, if you need help, just go here during your lunch hour and we'll help you. Along with that, though, in my case, for my AP computer science class, whenever a student needs help, other students also tend to help those students, because whether you're ahead with your work or someone just asks a question, everyone's there. It's a good community, and everyone's just helping each other as much as they can.
I actually think that Dr. Conrad is dying to get to some of the next slides, because I think she's going to have some responses to that question. Am I not right? I think I'm right.
Dying was the word I was thinking.
That was a good segue for you.
So, yes, and keeping in mind, too, that part of what we do is look at the mindsets of folks in the schools, and that includes teachers and administrators and the students themselves, to sort of address some of those pre-existing maybe thoughts that a student that doesn't have a certain prerequisite or doesn't have a rigorous honors course load prior to AP isn't going to be successful. And what we are seeing is that, and I'll show that you the grade reports, again, these are students who should be in these AP courses. They've managed to fly below the radar for a really long time. So although there may be some students who might be a really big stretch, for the most part, these are students who actually should be in an AP class and probably should have been much sooner than junior or senior. So if we look at the grade reports, these are a comparison of last year's first semester AP course grades compared to this year, and as you can see, they're very similar. So some of the concerns that you might have along that line of thinking is that if we put students who are ill-prepared traditionally in these classes, we see a drop in the scores, and as you can see, they're pretty much the same across the board. There may be a few more B's and C's, and that maybe, well, in this case, we have, these are all juniors and seniors. We had a bump in the number of A's, but you'll see that for the most part, they stay the same. When we look at this slide, this is looking at the underrepresented first-time AP takers, and again, you can see that across the board, the scores are similar to the year before prior to engaging in this, and we added something close to 300 students last year. This looks at the grade point average in the classes, and the vertical line you'll see are the grades previous year, and then the blue lines that go across horizontally are the grades after we added all the students. So again, you can see in 3 different slides where the grades have stayed the same or have gone up. This is looking at first-time AP takers by subject, and I don't think it's surprising that in English, which is you're going to see a little bit of a discrepancy there, because the amount of writing, if you haven't had previous coursework that has prepared you. I think it's a really big jump. We're going to do another grade check at the end of this semester, and we'll do the same analysis. Again, you look at the English and the world languages and cultures, very reading and writing intensive, and I think that's where maybe some of those skill deficits may materialize.
So some of the things that you heard from the students are the supports, and very quickly just walk through some of the ongoing summer supports that we are going to be continually offering as we look to increase the number of students who are taking these AP courses. We also want to make sure that we have enough teachers who are prepared to teach those courses. So usually during the summer is when we are getting more teachers certified and going through that certification process to teach an AP course. That will continue. We also have an opportunity for students who are going to be first-time enrolled to attend an AP Summer Bridge program where, some of the thoughts and feelings that, you heard from these students, those are definitely taken into account, and there's discussion, and there's even an opportunity to get used to some of that level of rigor and have sort of this bridge to take place over the summer so that students feel more prepared that first day and a little less anxiety about taking that AP course. Some of the continued building supports that some of the students already talked about, whether it be the academic resource periods where we have teachers from different content areas available during students' lunch periods, current AP students working with students during their lunch period. We know research supports that peer-to-peer tutoring is one of the most powerful interventions that we can put in place for all students. And then, again, just continually checking in with students, monitoring them, encouraging them. All of those are things that we know are important for overall student success. As we look to our third year of EOS, we remain committed as a district to the goals that EOS has presented for themselves, and those goals continue to really focus around closing the race and income gap as they show in participation nationwide in AP courses, and continue looking to increase AP performance for all of our students, and really just some of the things that you heard from the students, just having that that belief that, I've got other things that I never thought going into this that I could achieve. Some of the things will mostly remain the same as we look to continue with EOS. One of the things that we've started, we just had a chance to start this past semester at the end of the AP course, is the Student Experience Survey. What this survey really shows us is it's a survey that's given to all current AP test AP students, and what we're doing is we're gathering their insights on the quality of their AP experience. It gives us a chance to really take a check. Did we do well here? And really getting that from the student voice. This report is going to look at students' mindsets, learning mindsets, their sense of belonging, different resources and supports that were available, all those things to help us evaluate what we're doing. One final piece of data that you might be good to hear is our attrition rate. As we looked with EOS, Tracy confirmed for us that the level of students staying in this course, our attrition rate throughout the 3 high schools was actually lower than their entire EOS portfolio. So students are staying in the course. They're not getting out when the challenges come.
And if I could just bring up one point to Ms. Alona and Mr. Stanley, and I apologize, I didn't catch your last name, but I know that I passionately feel, and most people would concur, that this is how we attack the achievement gap, by challenging students at higher levels and making sure that they have the supports in place to achieve. So many times you look at remediation, and what we're looking at is challenging students at a higher level, and as a result of that, you're going to see an increase in SAT scores, ACT scores, and you're going to see an increase in the number of students going to college, graduating from college, and then finally your state scores are going to go up as well.
With that, any remaining questions, we're more than happy. I know the students, we tried to convince them to stick around after this, but can't promise that.
So I just wanted to make one comment. First of all, I wanted to thank the 3 of you guys for coming out. I totally appreciate you guys hanging out this long. I think, I've kind of got a unique perspective because I now have a sophomore in college, and I have an 8th grader, right, who's coming into high school. But I think we need to, as a district, have one message on these honors and AP courses. And what I mean by that is that whether we like it or not, and this is my perception, right? So I want to make that clear, that this is my perception, that I hear all the time out in the community that, man, the district is just pushing these kids to do honors and AP courses, and they're pushing them to do honors and AP courses. And I think there is some of what Mike says, that some people say, you know, hey, get the easy A versus going for the honors or AP course. And, you know, I don't mean to throw Dr. Eccles under the bus, but, you know, since my daughter's in 8th grade and about to go to IPEA, we got a chance to listen to Dr. Eccles' conversation before my daughter goes to high school, and then have already had one graduate from our district. I still heard that message of, we really want your kids to try an AP or honors course. And no offense to Dr. Eccles, but I'm sitting there going, tell them why, tell them why, tell them why. And I think we can't keep talking about that message that it offers college credit, because let's be honest, there are fewer and fewer colleges that are accepting the AP credits for college. But what I think we need to focus on as a district and talk about more as a district is things we can't measure. And we don't know these things until the kids go away to school, to college, because this is what I always hear from parents in our district, always, without a fault. I hear that our district, District 204, prepares kids for the rigor they get at college. And studies have shown that kids that take an AP or honors course, they get how it feels to have that rigor. So instead of saying we want your kids to do this AP or honors course because they're going to get college credit and they're going to have a college level course in high school, well, you know what? If I'm a parent, I'm thinking, big deal, you know, and you're not going to throw the college credit thing at me, because I know by the time my kid's a senior, less and less colleges are taking credits for it. So let's tell them the real reason why it really matters is because the students are learning that rigor. They're learning what it feels like to be in a college course. And if they take one of those courses, they got a 40%, I believe it was 40% better chance of graduating from college if they take just one AP or honors course. So I would love for us to have that message of why AP and honors is so beneficial, because of the rigor aspect, instead of focusing on pushing your kid to do the AP or honors course, because we hear about how kids are depressed and anxiety, and then they feel like school districts are pushing AP or honors. Let's tell them the reason why, you know? So that's just my comment.
No, and I think it's right on track. In fact, that is a big piece of the conversation that we have when we talk to students, is explaining why, and that it goes far beyond the AP score, the AP exam that you're going to take. It's really about learning how to do college. What I always say, it's learning how to do college in high school when you're surrounded by people who care and can support you. And all of the things that go along with having a rigorous coursework, how to get help, how to take notes, how to study, all of those sort of skills that you're going to need to be successful.
Do bad now and learn from it before you get to college, right?
Right, exactly. So, you know, we tell them that in college you're going to have 5 AP classes at one time. So we want you to start off with one. Let us teach you how to do college here, and you'll be far better prepared when you get there. And so I'll ask one more question. It's a yes or no. Do you feel like you're prepared to go to college?
Yes.
One more.
Yeah, I'd say I am as well.
And I think you guys will recognize even more when you leave here.
Again, I just want to thank you guys for being here. We love to hear your stories, your journey through this. And I have to say, what came through for me is your passion. Your passion for not only the classes you chose, but just education in general. And I think that if that can be a byproduct of this, where we have kids leaving our schools with that passion, you know, to go to U of M, to go to Aurora University, you know, just to have that passion, that is going to help you succeed as well. So I hear that in you guys, and it makes me very proud that we are in the district we're in, and that we have this program, this EOS program, that is identifying students that, again, may not have considered this. you made a comment, Owen, I think that one of your teachers said, I think you can do this, you can do this.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly, I mean, how'd you feel when he said that to you?
I was like, I honestly didn't know what to think. I just kind of went, all right, let's go for it.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
personally, I think, yeah. Personally,
What's the drop date? Yeah.
if more people were, again, encouraged like that and identified and just kind of rally around those students, I think it's going to benefit the student, it's going to benefit those around them. So I appreciate your passion in this, and tell your friends to take more classes like this, because I do think, I agree, it is college. You're doing college. So thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I just also want to congratulate you on pushing yourselves. I know that probably wasn't an easy choice, and this is an important initiative. I'm happy to see that the trend looks like it's up 9% for enrollment projections for next year, so that also is great news. And, I look forward to initiatives like this at the grade levels that are below the 11th and 12th grade, so that we are at a point where we're not having a gap and having to address it late in the school experience. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Tracy, thank you for all your work that
Yes,
you've done
thank
with
you
our
so
district.
much.
I know that this is it for you with us, right?
And good luck to all of you.
Well, I think I'm going to hover around.
You're going to
next
hover
year,
around this
yes.
district? Okay.
I told them we have a codependent relationship, and so I need to stay on.
We have an equally important discussion, and that is in our Engage 204 final report. Over the course of the summer, the Board of Education met and determined that it was important to solicit the ideas and priorities and thoughts of our district. Given that we had limited resources, how can we best serve our students and staff in order that we do our best job possible? As a result of that, we engaged in Engage 204, in which over the course of 5-6 meetings, we met with parents to determine those priorities. We asked parents and community members to lead the charge. And I think we have them here now. So can you please share with us the report?
Thanks for sticking around, guys.
No problem.
Tough act to follow.
Sorry, kids first.
No problem. So my name is Crystal Porter, and I am joined with Mark Lobles, Archana Sharma, and Jessica Johnson. And we are here to present the recommendations from our Engage 204 experience. First of all, I'd like to say that collectively, we'd like to thank you for providing us with the opportunity to serve as facilitating team members and leaders. It was really an honor. So let's get started. So first, I want to start off by providing some background about Engage 204, review activities of the facilitating team and community engagement sessions, and then provide recommendations based on community engagement. I'd like to provide a little background information for you, because community engagement at its core is intended to solicit the hopes, feedback, ideas, and thoughtful suggestions of a school district stakeholders, its public, through meaningful dialogue and discussion. The Indian Prairie School District's mission is to inspire all students to achieve their greatest potential. To achieve this mission, the Board of Education recognized the need to gather extensive community input, involvement, and participation for the successful development and implementation of a long-range plan. Engage 204 is a call to action as one avenue for achieving this board goal. With that in mind, let's look at the specific charge from the Board of Education to Engage 204. The purpose of Engage 204 was to review current and accurate information that reflects the community's priorities related to the future operations and educational opportunities for students within District 204. In doing so, we wanted to involve a broad-based group of community citizens in dialogue and deliberation. In doing this, the process involved two main areas of focus: the work of a facilitating team in coordinating and providing leadership to the process, and a district-wide community engagement session.
So here, the facilitating team is a group of dedicated community volunteers who, together with the District 204 representatives, accepted the responsibility of facilitating the engagement process from its initial session through the final report to the board and community, which we are providing today. This team consisting of approximately 23 individuals, many of them are here today, helped with decisions regarding process, strategy, and communication. They met regularly to develop agendas, review discussion materials, and keep the program focused and on task. Here are the names of the facilitating team members. From the community team leaders, as we have Jessica Johnson, Mario Lambert, Mark Lobos, Dr. Crystal Porter, and myself, Archana Sharma. The community members we had on our team were Peter Barnard, Audra Baraski, Ruby Chawla, Annie Cole, Aurelie Dubios, Angie Gall, Kristen Jeffries, Chris Leshock, Rachel Osira, Eric Rose, Randy Cedio, Chad Stevens, and we also had district representatives, our District Superintendent, Dr. Karen Silliman, Mr. Jay Strang, Janet Buglio, Paul Gamboa. And from our board members, we had Mr. Mike Rezak and Ms. Susan Deming involved in this whole process. So at this time, I would ask the facilitating team members to stand up and receive our appreciation. Please give a hand of applause to all of them. So the community engagement sessions were held at Still Middle School, and we had 5 of them, 5 sessions, starting from November 14, 2017, followed by December 7th session, January 29th session, February 26th of this year, and then March 20th, 2018. And today we are going to present to the board. We were pleased with the community participation in Engage 204. However, we would have liked to have seen more of our stakeholders participate in the Engage 204 conversations. Over the course of the sessions, almost 490 members of our community attended at least one session, and the average session attendance was 131 participants. At each session, attendees were asked to sign in to document their attendance. They were also asked to indicate the category as noted in the slide. They represented like parents from current student population, we had 421, parents from former students, 53, parents of future students, 41, alumni, 17, staff members, 44, community members, 90, and business owners, 18. So these people presented at the meetings. So we have, besides the feedback provided through the work done in small groups at each session, participants also had the opportunity to submit questions or comments and in the forms provided to them. The additional feedback covered 14 different topics, including achievement gap, boundaries, and school safety. Email was another avenue for district stakeholders to share their feedback. So now we will have Mr. Mark Lobos to start presenting the recommendations we have from community engagement. Crystal.
I'm nervous, so I'm going to let Jessica go ahead. I'm going to sit here and just be nervous for a while.
Very funny. Thanks everybody for your time tonight. And I would just start by saying we were hoping for bigger crowds. We did draw very engaged crowds. Those of you that were there saw that they were active participants the whole time. But want to preference the recommendations by saying these are good indicators, right? We had a good enough group and good enough lively discussion to get a general sense and some indicators about areas of priority. But we would caution you from, taking overreaching or overtaking the evidence here and acting hastily on any kind of decisions without doing more data collection and stakeholder engagement. And Mark will kind of wrap up with that in the end, but thought it was good also to preface our conversation today with that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the topics. There were 5 topics, and each one provided different avenues for community members to give input. The first session was the state of the district, and Dr. Sullivan presented just all the basic information you all would expect to see about where our district is at, what we look like compared to our peer districts. And this was the chance for community members to really give us input on what did they want to hear more about and what did they want to learn about through the course of this Engage 204. So out of that session, we heard some priorities that helped us determine what the next 4 sessions would be and the order that we put those sessions in. We actually did make some changes from some original thoughts based on the feedback we got in that first session. The second session was about enrollment and boundaries, and Mark's going to talk a little bit about recommendations that came out of that session. The third session was about future-ready students and academics, and I'm going to share with you some of the findings from that session. That's an area that's close to my heart, so it's fun to be a part of. The fourth one was about facilities. So where are we at with our facilities? What are some of the challenges of today, as well as how we think about our facilities in the future? And Mark's going to talk some more about that one. And then the last session was the budget, and that's where we really culminated all of the different pieces and put some things together around priorities and what do we think are some priorities for the district. You can see what was great about this was the partnership between district staff, district partner organizations, and our community members. So for each session, we had different representatives from the district and from our partner organizations preparing presentations. They worked with our Engage 204, our broader team, right, to share those presentations before we went to the community so we could give input and say, hey, we think people are really going to want to hear about this or about that, and fine-tune those presentations so by the time we got to that community group, we were ready to go. And this is, you can see the list of district staff and partners who committed their time to making this possible. So a thank you to all those folks on the slide. So with that, I'm going to jump into what we heard about some priorities. And as I mentioned, we wrapped up with a session on budget. And we really thought about what are the priorities from not just programming, not just facilities, but really thinking about all of those pieces and how would those come together in priorities. And what you'll see on the next slide is a summary of what we came up with finance recommendations. And essentially, we asked the participants, if you were given an extra $1, right, and you had to allocate that across a set of priorities, how would you allocate that extra $1? And these were the priorities that we gave them, which again culminated from all the feedback we'd gotten in the previous sessions. So these didn't just come out of nowhere. These came out of what were the feedback we'd gotten from previous sessions. And really, these kind of clumped out. I was looking through the data again today. Those top 3 really clumped out as, you know, consistently priorities across the board. Folks care about class size, I would say, was talked about generally. We didn't talk about the nuances or the specifics, so that would be a place I would encourage you, if you're thinking about class size, to really kind of dig into the research and evidence base about where class size makes a difference and use that to inform any decisions there. We talked about deferred maintenance projects. Consistently, folks saw that as a need, and Mark will talk a little bit about those presentations there, but it's an area that I think community members across the board recognized was important. And teacher salaries. From the very first presentation, when we looked at where 204 sits with regard to competing districts, that was a priority, and I was really excited to hear tonight about the teacher's contract. I think that was a great step in the direction for teacher salaries. Some of the other pieces you see here a little further down, additional staff, and you'll hear me talk some of that related to student wellness, which given the times we're in has elevated to a priority in a way that it might not have been a few years back. Locks and intercoms, right, thinking about safety, those are certainly heavy issues on the hearts of our community members and are important. Also, we had a lot of input from community members and parents representing STEPS and alternative high school programs, and those were consistently identified as priorities through this process. Elementary air conditioning, again, that came through the facilities. and capital maintenance spending, which is more the ongoing spending as opposed to the deferred maintenance costs. These were, we asked the groups not only, sorry, just one more thing on the last slide. We asked the groups not only kind of where would you allocate that dollar, but then we asked them the harder question, which was, would you spend more money, right? And would you spend it on all of these things or not? And we saw quite a bit of variation across groups. As I said, there was some consistency in those top items, but then there was a lot of variation. And so again, as you think about how do we need to dig further, definitely recommend that you would, dig further before making any kind of decisions about where we might want to go there. Okay, thanks. Okay, moving on to the academic programs and services. This session, as I mentioned, was about being future ready, and what does that look like? What does that mean for our teachers, for our students, for our families? And many things came out here. The teacher training piece and additional staff really across the board was shown as a priority. There was lots of discussion about instructional coaches and the value that those coaches bring, particularly in places where we want to close achievement gaps. One of the things I was very happy to see, and I think some of the members here or public speakers here tonight will be happy to hear, is there's a lot of focus on equitable access and closing achievement gaps, and how do we put in some of these programs and services that move us in that direction. Student wellness, as I mentioned, was a high priority throughout this session. Class sizes and steps also emerged. We also left spaces here for groups to just give other comments and other feedback about things that were important regarding academic programming. We heard things like, let's make sure we balance, right? Balance academic core, balance our arts, balance our technology. There was definite feeling that we do a good job of balancing those things now, and we don't want to lose those, right? So strong advocacy for balance across, for closing achievement gaps, for using technology to improve education, not just for the sake of technology. With that, I'm going to turn to Mark to talk about facilities.
I was just kidding. I'm in a suit jacket. I'm not nervous at all. Just so we're clear. So facilities and maintenance was our third meeting, and it was fascinating. The sheer scope of this district and the volume of space we maintain and occupy is phenomenal. The presentation itself, I'm not close enough. The presentation itself was very, very interesting. There were a lot of tie-ins to home ownership and how those of us who own homes or have owned anything that requires maintenance, how it turns out if we forego that maintenance for an extended period of time and then have to try to catch up. And it was presented very clearly that to a degree we've done that with quite a bit of our land and our buildings. So with that, we presented the presentation to the community involved photos, which were fascinating. We saw photos of leaky buildings, deteriorating walls. One of our, I forget which building, I apologize, middle school or grade school was at the time being propped up by lumber to keep the wall from shifting one way or the other until they had time to make it safe and proper. So it was really eye-opening for any member of the community that was here and didn't realize just what this entailed. So with that, we put out our questions to the community, and they came back almost unanimously. Everyone agreed. Facility improvements and catching up the deferred maintenance was top of the list. We don't want our buildings crumbling around our students, and I think the whole community agreed with that. Safety and security, as Jessica said, is on the hearts of everyone right now. Unfortunately, it's in everyone's mind right now too, so that certainly came up over and over again, which understandably so. And then this meeting, because it was meeting number 3, it had preceded the financial piece, so there was a lot of question brought up about how to fund and finance these different things. So we tried to include that in because that was a universal concern as well. We had not gone, we could only go in a certain order, and we hadn't gotten to the budget presentation yet. So that was our facility maintenance presentation, which was fantastic. Sorry about that. So under our school boundaries. School boundaries was our second meeting. It just followed up the state of the district, and it was a very well-attended meeting. I believe it was in December, right before the year concluded, and we presented a map and discussed the area where everyone lived, where everyone was bused to or not bused to, or walked to, not walked to, and asked the public what they thought. And they came back with the need for a comprehensive redistricting study and to consider keeping neighborhoods within schools. I think this was right around a time where some of our neighborhoods were being discussed whether or not they were going to be moved to different schools. So that was a hot topic that night as well. Transportation was just a topic that came up, how far a student needs to ride a bus, how long they're on a bus, and that joins in with travel times as well. However long it takes the students to and from school was a big concern with families as well. That was our school boundary discussion. I'm going to go on to additional considerations. As a team, we felt there were a few considerations we should make known to you as we present this. As Jessica stated at the very beginning, we had a turnout. We had just shy of 500 people overall for this. We feel as a team that we would love to have seen more members of the community, as I'm certain all of you would, but we would have loved to see thousands of people show up and give input. Now, as Jessica stated, we had some very passionate, very dedicated people in the audience, which was marvelous, and the discussion they led to within the tables that they were at left numerous people who didn't know much when they walked in, knowing more than they ever imagined when they walked out, which was fantastic. But that being said, we would just like to make it known that we would love to see this information made more widely known to the general public, which, again, we're going to qualify that by saying we know you've tried and you're working at that. We just want to agree with that. Another additional consideration we wanted to make known really affects the school boundary presentation. I'm sorry, you can go on the next one. School boundary presentation. When we did the second presentation, the Wagner Farm area had not sold. And so much of our presentation and our discussion revolved around the fact that the north end of our district is heavily overpopulated and parts of the south end of our district are not as greatly populated. Now, I'm not one to guess how this is going to affect the district, but I think it's plausible this might affect the population of the south end of the district. That information was not made known to the public because we did not know it at the time, and we just want that noted that it could possibly have affected people's opinions on session number 2. As for our impressions as a facilitating team, we felt that this 5-session, year-long process enlightened everyone that came in touch with it. It was fantastic. I think anyone that showed up to any one of these meetings left talking with all their friends and anyone that would listen about our district, about the state of our district. There were a lot of negatives in some light, things we're working on improving, but there were a lot of positives too. And I think that everyone left with just a wide-eyed stare and just with the amazement of how big this district is, which congratulations to all of you for keeping it running so well. And we also wanted to note that we felt that it did make known to the district, to the members of the community, that a need was present for funding of some sort for some of these programs. I think everyone agreed some of these things do need to occur. And lastly, you can go on the last one now. As a facilitating team, we just want to let the public know that all of the responses recorded are available at engage204.org. Any information that was sent in, all of our slides, all of our presentations, and anything with someone's opinion on it that we received, we made note of it, and it's available at the website. Make sure that everything is very transparent, very clear. So any member of the community now and for the foreseeable future, we've been told this will be up for a very long time. You are welcome to hop on engage204.org and check out anything that we've spoken about here in a quick manner. And with that, we just want to thank you all for organizing this, for caring enough about the district and the state of the district to put all this together. And we will take any questions if you have any questions.
No, I just want to thank you guys. You're the ones that need to be thanked because you did a wonderful job. I think you did get a lot of messages out to people, and we've got people talking about a lot of the issues that we're dealing with, and that's the huge benefit of all your work. So I thank you for that.
Anybody?
Yeah, I'll echo what.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It's like, thank you so much for volunteering to help out here. I think it was well worth the sessions. I agree, a lot of really eye-opening information was shared to the public. It's just too bad there weren't more people there to see all of that, so, yeah.
Yeah, and thank you, everybody, and hopefully we can call on you or tap all of you guys again if we need you. You know, the time that you guys spent on it, not only at those 5 sessions, but in your own meetings, preparing for those meetings, and you know, it just shows your love and commitment to this district, so thank you guys, all of you. Yeah, kind of what Lori said, I wish we could have got more people. I think this gives us a good snapshot, but like you said, don't jump to too many conclusions based on just this information, because maybe we should go a little deeper or dig a little deeper. But I think you definitely clarified the mission that we had in mind for you. I think you nailed, and you did a great job. I'm not sure you made our jobs any easier, but you know, I think it gives us a good, maybe a little more clarification of where we need to jump off from this, and I'm sure Mike will talk about it too. But so thank you guys. I mean, you definitely helped us.
Anyone else? I Oh.
Yes, Susan?
We know the drill when Mike stands up.
Something important.
We know that means something's coming. He's going to say something.
Usually takes a while.
Well, that'll make it longer. In the Blues Brothers, there's the mission from God. This was the mission from the board, if you chose to take it. And it was a 1-year experience. And as Mark said, we think we're going to tap you some more. But it was so important to have our parents and our community here to assist us in this process. As Mr. Karuba said, this was volunteer. This is a couple times a month where people got together, helped plan the sessions, organize the sessions, and then kind of work out through the sessions what people thought they heard in order that this kind of comprehensive program would be done. So on behalf of the board, I'm going to read this because I couldn't say this any better. So thank you for your commitment in serving on the Engaged 204 facilitating team. We are grateful for the time and energy you invested in the process by sharing your hopes, ideas, thoughtful suggestions, and professional experience. You have shaped the future direction for our students and our community. So with our sincere appreciation, the board really thanks you. And we have a plaque for each of you. So I'm going to ask you to come up, and starting out with Dr. Krista Porter. Thank you. Jessica Johnson. Mark, we didn't want to ruin a good suit coat. Mark. Archana Sharma. Christine Jeffries. Rachel Asira. And Ruby Chawla. And you heard the other names of our people. We have plaques for them also. So again, on behalf of the board, we want to thank you for all your hard work and dedication. We hope to live up to those expectations that you set for us, and we'll do our best for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, we go to our Board of Education discussion on our proposed IASB resolution and belief statements. We had 3 of our board members express that they might be interested in engaging in that process, and so I just want to do an update of where we're at. So I'm going to begin with Mr. Rising.
As you recall, last meeting I came to you guys with an idea that I was thinking about for a possible either new resolution or amending a position statement that IASB already currently has in regards to the TIFs. The more I thought about it, and also consulting with our Vice President, Justin Carubas, I think we both kind of fell on the same position of how we were feeling, and that's to not pursue this at the moment. That there is enough talk going on in the state regarding TIFs, whether it be in Chicago or Springfield. It's getting enough political attention. IASB is currently involved in the task force, so they're letting the state know how TIFs can either positively or negatively affect education funding. So I wanted to bring it to our attention, but I think as of right now, kind of take that wait and see what happens next year and see if we need to attack it more. So kind of pulling back on it.
All right, thank you. Kathy Peel.
Okay, so I have reached out a little bit in regard, and got some feedback that it's, I always go into these things thinking, well, this is a no-brainer, but it's not. So there's a little bit of pushback on it, but I think, I do want to pursue it.
So do you want to review that for everybody, what you're pursuing?
So I had a chance to look at some research that's been out there and some initiatives in addressing this very issue. So I adjusted the belief statement to include part of the guidance that the National School Board, National Association of School Psychologists actually recommend. And that is that the IASB believes that schools should provide a safe and secure environment for all students with evidence-based procedures and practices. And this is where from the school psychologist guide is that will make best use of resources, maximize effectiveness, and minimize physical and psychological risks. So their association has really done a lot of work in regard to trying to balance safety and also balance the social emotional issues that our children could have risk at. Many of them come from situations that they've already are dealing with trauma, so we don't want to make things worse for them.
So this was, again, a belief statement on conducting active shooter drills in schools, correct?
Right. We're conducting, safety drills in general, but in particular what kind of made me decide to go about this is because there is a lot more talk about pursuing active shooter drills. There's a lot of talk about doing a lot of things regard to safety, and some things probably don't make a lot of sense for our students. So I think it'd make a lot of sense for the IASB to have a belief statement in that regard. I'm not recommending any particular legislation. I'm just saying let's be sure whatever legislation is proposed that we keep the best practices and the well-being of our students at the forefront.
So given the timeline, will you have a position statement ready for us for the next meeting?
I think it's pretty close already. So
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Any questions for Kathy?
So you've provided this paper that's got two
Yeah, the
possible.
first one was the one I had last time,
Mhm.
and the second one is the one I'm thinking might work a little better.
Do you think this is sufficient to cover the active shooter situation? With
I-
being kind of intentionally vague to other
Yeah.
stuff? Right.
Yeah, I am being intentionally vague. I mean, there's the active shooter, there's all kinds of things that are
Exactly,
going
right,
on. So
right.
I don't want to just cover the active shooter.
Well, I think what was nice what Kathy said, it's more of a belief statement.
Sure.
You know, that, I mean, let's be honest, school districts are probably gonna do what they wanna do, but it should take into consideration what you're saying, which I think is very important.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really hoping, as far as legislation going forward, that the legislators take into consideration our viewpoint on this.
Yeah.
Since we should be the experts of what's going on in our schools.
Absolutely.
I just said, the evidence-based procedures and practices, that particular statement, I don't know if there's a way for us to have that, and I know you don't want to get specific, but I don't know if there's a way for that to be clarified, or is that a formal type of, is that an industry recognized, educational recognized statement?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be terminology that's used a lot. Evidence-based practices in
Do we
terms of
need-
meaning there's some research behind it, there's some.
Do we need to point to the research? No, probably not, just.
Well, I certainly can, but, yeah, so, yeah, truly, this is a proposal, and if we got some wordsmithing, I'm still welcome the wordsmithing. I just don't want to lose the essence of the statement.
I like the second one.
I do too. I think it covers what we need to cover, but like you said, it's vague enough that it could cover other things as well. So good job on wordsmithing that.
Well, I'll give credit to the National Association of School Psychologists. I actually just stole
Is that
half
kind
the
of where
line.
that, Kathy, is that somewhere where that terminology, national?
Oh, I included in your folder, this is one from 2014.
Okay.
From the National Association of School Psychologists. There's a ton of literature there. I could give you a lot more.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to go as crazy as Mr. Krubis did last time with writing a brief statement for the.
You're going to send me down there to argue.
I'd love to. I'd
did a
love
good
to send you
job.
down there.
Gonna totally do that to me.
I like where I definitely like where you're headed on this, and I just wondered if there, the evidence-based procedures and practices, and I get that that's industry, so maybe that is the best, but
Yeah.
just wondered whether there's any wordsmithing that
Yeah.
we might be able to do.
Definitely welcome that.
When we do approve the resolution, it's good to include kind of some wiggle room in the resolution, so maybe we approve this language, but oftentimes when you go through the process, there'll be some, well, are you willing to change this and get it passed? So I think when we do approve it, there's some authority to wordsmith it or change it up within the context of this. It could say, well, if we change this, it'll pass, and it still meets our intent and purpose.
Yeah. The meeting is normally in August when you go before the legislative committee, and that's where they start,
Okay.
changing things up.
Okay.
They may have suggestions for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, Ms. Donahue.
So I have been talking to several different people, and finally today got a hold of the Illinois School Board Association to discuss the item that I was proposing, which was related to recognizing the schools as somewhere that would support student voter registration, and not in any prescribed way, but just the importance of having students registered to vote as part of a civic duty. And I wouldn't say they were encouraging. They said it could be a political hot button, but they also didn't discourage me. And in fact, they said that they would review any draft material. So I have drafted up a couple different proposals, and Kathy quickly took a look at it earlier, and there's some things I want to look at editing on it. I also shared it with IASB to see what they had to say, because they're very concerned about having anything that is a mandate. And I was careful to try and word it so that it's not mandating anything, just as part of the education process for putting students out in the world. We're providing, civic knowledge, and part of that should be encouraging registration to vote. So I'll put something together in the next few days to share with the rest of you, and can take a look and decide whether or not this is something we want to pursue or not. So.
Any questions? Thank you. I think we're ready to move on. I actually don't have a board update, but I just have one statement, I guess, and that is, I'm sure on behalf of this board, our hearts go out to the Santa Fe community. No one should be having to deal with that kind of stuff. I don't know what to call it, tragedy. So on behalf of our board, please know that our thoughts, prayers, and hearts are with you. We wish you the best. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
In favor, please say.
Amen.
Aye.
Don't forget your exit slips, please.